Hello, this is Miss Schrader. Today we're going to be talking about some of the art pieces that started the Renaissance. My students, you need a piece of paper and something to write with. You want to take notes, and when you're done, you are giving me between 5 and 7 sentences about what you find interesting, educational, and important. We are looking at the Florence Cathedral, also known as the Cathedral of St. Mary of the Flower or Catedral de Santa Maria del Fiore, and it's also called El Duomo. And we're going to focus on the dome that is on the right. The church was built in the 1200s, replacing a much earlier church. And after the building of the church, that section where the dome was literally was open. It didn't have any kind of a roof. And there was a lot of discussion about what should take place in order to create a roof for the cathedral. So this is a map showing where Florence is in Italy. One of the things you need to notice is that Italy was not a united country. It was a series of different states. And at the beginning of the Renaissance, the cities who were leading it, they were called city-states. And they were the cities that were doing a great deal of trading with other areas. Florence was trading with the Middle East, with Egypt, with all kinds of different areas. They were bringing in goods and they were bringing in new ideas. And this is a picture of Filippo Brunelleschi, the man who designed the dome for El Duomo. He was born in 1377 and died in 1446. And he's actually buried in the crypt, the basement area of the Church of Maria de la Fiore. Now, when you're designing a dome, one of the biggest issues deals with how do you make sure it doesn't just collapse in on itself. Um, After all, it is going to slowly curve inward. And of course, the most powerful piece is the piece at the very top that theoretically is at least keeping it all from uh, collapsing in on itself. Now, in the Middle Ages, this was a real serious problem, but part of the Renaissance was that they figured out, again, they remembered how to do this. And so one of the things that Brunelleschi was doing was that he actually had two domes, an inner dome and an outer dome. This is the outer dome of El Duomo, and it's made of brick. You can see that. And at one time, when it was first built, it was the largest dome in the world. Um, and the way that they make it so that it stands up, that it doesn't collapse under its own weight, one of the things that they are using is they use terracotta tiles marked by 8 ribs of white marble, and they're using a herringbone pattern. This is a herringbone pattern. And if you look at it, you will notice that for each horizontal piece, there are two vertical pieces pushing it upward. And then there are two horizontal pieces pushing the vertical pieces outward. So that each of these is pushing against the other, eventually pushing everything downward so that the weight of the pieces is carried by all of the other pieces going downward. And that keeps it from collapsing in on itself. This is the interior dome of the cathedral at Florence, and it's made of concrete and it's held up using um, chains to help pull it upward. You'll notice in the center it has an oculus. An oculus is just a big hole in the ceiling. It refers to an eye. Part of the reason for that is it does make the dome lighter. And of course, it provides interior lighting so that people can see inside, particularly in the days when they didn't have electric light. Now, the inner dome is made with cement, and one of the tricks they would use is they would take small pots and throw it into the cement, and that would make little bubbles in the cement because of the hollowness of the pots, and that would make the inner dome lighter. The interior is painted by Giorgio Vasari. He painted this after the death of Brunelleschi. It's showing um, the end of the world, when Jesus, which you can see there, coming back and judging people. The good people get to go to heaven, and the bad ones are going to end up going to hell. Here you can see the interior of the cathedral. I believe the dome is further back, the slightly darker area, but you should be able to notice that there are a large number of people in there. There are some beautiful arches, and it's just a beautiful building inside. You can climb to the top of the dome of the Florence Duomo. I'm told it takes between 15 and 30 minutes. There are 463 steps, and you will have a panoramic view so that you can see everything. From the sounds of things, it can be quite crowded because it is definitely a tourist site. And here you can see some drawings that show the various different parts of the dome, as it would be shown in an architect's drawing. Needless to say, El Duomo has been a huge tourist site for people ever since it was built. As I've mentioned, it is one of the starting points of the Renaissance because it is something that had been lost to Europeans, the concept of how to make domes, and it was rediscovered in time for them to make this. This is showing the time period of the people of Europe beginning to learn more about ancient Greece and Roman designs, paintings, architecture, and using it in their art. My students, you are giving me between 5 and 7 sentences about what you learned about El Duomo, and I hope you found it interesting and enjoyable. Thank you.